If I said to you, Barry University, what sort of thought comes to you? What do you think of first? I mean, just without even giving it too much thought, what sort of pops into your head?
My wonderful 20 years that I spent there.
Why were they wonderful?
They were wonderful because I enjoyed the work that I was doing. It's a very life-giving place. We were able to carry on the mission of the Adrian Dominican Sisters. I felt that I was helpful in helping Barry University bring in money. You know, I worked with scholarship funds. I worked with planned giving. I worked with the Women's Club that were future donors, you know, to us. And I had a wonderful time while I was there. I lived at the villa right across the street, so I was able to participate in the spiritual life of Barry, the masses, the other events that were carried on there, all the special events. I participated in the balls and in the sports programs. You know, we did fundraising when we had the golf tournament. We had the annual ball, and they were instrumental in helping us to communicate with donors, to help donors to understand the value of education at Barry. Also, when I worked there, I had nephews that lived in the neighborhood, and I had 3 of my nephews that had scholarships at Barry University, and it has helped all of them to have a very successful professional life. And this is true also of other boys and girls that came to Barry. Because they got such a good education, they were able to further their own advancement in business. It was a pleasant place. It was a beautiful surrounding.
Many sisters have talked about the sense of community.
Yes, yes. Well, actually, we were a community in being able to work, but I lived at the villa, which was right across the street, and so most of the people that lived there, you know, were our sisters. And also, Gina Laughlin and I went back, way back before her presence at Barry University. She was an administrator in California for the congregation. I had a similar position in the Michigan area with our sisters, and so she and I were friends and had worked together for years before I came to Barry. After I finished being principal at Regina Dominican High School and was deciding what I was going to do, that would have been in the late, like the early 90s. And she offered me the position, you know, and I knew her already. We were good friends. And so the opportunity for the experience, you know, to work there was very good. And I think that we came together not only because we were friends, but because she knew that I was capable of doing the job that she was offering me. And that was way back when Jean Autry was the vice president of, institutional advancement. And he is, the one that I worked with. And after him, Bill Fenton was there. I don't know if you remember Bill. Bill Fenton took Gene Autry's place.
Gene Autry, like the cowboy?
Gene Autry was an absolutely great man. He was an outstanding, figure in the Miami area when Gene was president there.
Let me ask you, over the years that you were there, how did you see the campus change? How did you see it evolve?
Well, every year, I would say the new buildings, the improvements always being made in the landscaping. But certainly, the fact that new buildings it was possible because of the fundraising, because I would say Sister Jean, while I was there, because she was the president, was very successful in developing the endowments of the university. And we built facilities for students that were coming that needed, more housing. There was a lot of building that was done when I was there. And not only, though, was it the building, I felt that it was a privilege to be part of the spirit of the campus.
What was the spirit?
It was, a very inspiramental. It was, we were fortunate because we had the chapel right there, and we had, the benefit not only of the chapel, but also the department that was focusing on the spirituality, the religion, and that was a powerful, department. And so it was really a pleasant, place to live and to be. And I loved the climate. I loved the fact, that I lived right across the street. I love working with the people that I work with in institutional advancement. We had, many different departments in that part of the government. And it was a privilege to be part of the staff and to be it was a pleasant place to be. There were always new things going on. The sports program was great. It got better and better. And the things that, we were able to do. We did a lot with developing scholarships when I was there, named scholarships. And also, we have what we call planned giving, where people were able to remember Barry in their will, or establish programs that Barry would be future recipients. That was really part of the work in the institutional advancement department that we did, because that was definitely a fundraising area.
Barry started out as a all-girls, Catholic girls
Yeah.
college. It certainly evolved from that.
Very
Certainly
much.
5 years ago, it was for girls only.
Right.
And then I guess we'd say now they were all Catholic.
Yeah. Well, that was, of course, way before I got there. But it was definitely, all women. And there were fewer buildings, but gradually that's why more buildings had to be made. And then at one point, welcoming men to the faculty. In fact, the first part of the time when men were able to come to Barre, that was one of the reasons why the villa was there, because in the beginning, men were living over there. And that was way early on in the beginning of Sister Jean's presidency that happened, you know, and but then gradually they needed more dormitories for both the men and the women.
And now they can live in the same dormitory.
Right, right. So.
The spirit of the Dominicans, well, the Adrian Dominicans, how do you see it? What do you see as the traditions? If you want someone to understand the Adrian mission, how would you describe it or explain it?
Well, our life as Adrians is the fact that it's very closely related to our spiritual life. You know, those of us that have joined the Dominicans have had a very clear picture of what we were coming into. I happen to have been taught by the Adrian Dominicans for 12 years, and so was very much aware of their spirituality. They're very outgoing women, they're happy women, they're intelligent women. They are still today, if you're here on campus and you're with the Adrian Dominicans, even though we don't wear the habit, we have the same opportunity for spiritual life, as well as other ways of giving service and using our education and intelligence to reach out to other people. So we have a very interesting life. You know, we're not sitting in a corner with nothing to do. We are constantly moving out to what are some of the current needs for service. So that's why, you know, early on, we used to have most of our people teaching school, but gradually, you know, we've moved into other fields, nursing, you know, we have hospitals as well as schools. We have many other kinds of work that we do. And so we continue to be a group that others are joining. Not so much, there's so many changes in the world today that it's not like you need to join an order to do that work. I mean, you can do the same work that we're doing, but it's a way of living that still attracts, you know, people. Not as many as in the past, but so, you know, I feel that it affected, you know, our spiritual life as Adrian Dominicans was instrumental in the beginning of helping us reach out in places like Barre University. You know, I think that generally, you know, we were looked at as happy people, intelligent people, educated people.
And especially back in the day when very few women were certainly getting PhDs.
Right.
You know, or masters, much less PhDs.
Right.
But that was Mother Gerald Barry, right? That was her influence?
Mother Gerald was certainly instrumental in helping all of us yes, to be educated. But, you know, if you read our history, education was a major part of our preparation to carry on the work that we were doing.
Yeah, education, not to just educate you, but education so you and your sisters could go out and help others.
Right, right. And so, you know, that's always been a major work. But we've also had nurses. Mostly they've been in the California area. That's where we're connected with hospitals and work. But we've also been fortunate to have a facility right here on our campus where we can take care of our own women who are not well. You know, many of our people that weren't able to continue in the active work are here now, you know, on the campus.
As you've mentioned, things are changing. Obviously, the times are changing. Sister Linda could well be the last sister that's a president of Barry University, possibly. Mm-hmm. What do you think about then as we move on and increasingly I think those in charge are looking at the lay leadership to take over for the Dominican sisters?
Well, I think that we've done that already, you know, in many places where our sisters are and where the schools are. We've always worked well with people that are not nuns. You know, I would say many of the projects, many of the programs that we work with, you know, are done with women that are not members of the congregation. There's a whole group that did not necessarily want to join the order, but they joined what we call associates. We have another whole group, and you know, if you would look at our directory, you'd find the pages, there's a whole section that are related to what we call associates.
Are they the future? At least the near future, or the future, do you think?
Well, they're not only in the future, they're already working with us. It's not like, I don't see the day when there won't be any nuns. I mean, it's too far in the future for me to look at. You know, right now we have hundreds of people, and although we don't have as many as we used to, and many of the people that are associates, some of them were in the congregation for a while, and they decided, you know, that they did not stay. But many of the associates were never part of us. It's a part of our government structure, and they meet with us in our government structure. We have what we call our mission groups and our chapters, and the associates are part of that already. Not like, you know, and I would say they're like our partners. I don't know whether, I can't look enough into the future to know, is there ever going to be a point when there won't be any nuns at all? I can't see that point. That's beyond my, you know, self.
Is there some nostalgia, though? I think Sister Paul James was telling us when she first got to Barry, I'm not positive of my facts, or if she told me that, but there were 50 sisters working there, and there are 4 now. You know, so there has been, you know, that spirit that was brought there then. You don't have that presence, but what everyone seems to be saying is, you know, you don't necessarily have to be a nun, you know, to go ahead and to carry on the mission. You don't even necessarily have to be Catholic.
Right.
To go on and carry on the mission. That
right.
seems very forward thinking.
Right. right. Yeah, I think that, you know, that's definitely true of other places that we've been. In many of the places where we worked, we didn't own the places. However, we owned some of them. Like, for example, we have a Rosarian Academy in West Palm Beach. We have Regina Dominican High School in Wilmette. You know, those are still schools, but we had more schools, and you know, we had more places where people, but there's fewer of those now. But I think it's what's happening with our congregation is not unique to the Adrian Dominican Sisters. You know, I would say that we're very glad that many of the things that we started, you know, like Barry University is continuing to go on, even though the sisters are not there. But we have been fortunate to have good people hired who follow along with the same goals and objectives. And so the good work is going on, even though our sisters are not totally, or, you know, they're not there in the same measure.
Do you think that's a challenge now, or not a challenge, because you do have this strong relationship with the associates? Do you think then that the fact that the numbers of sisters is a challenge for the future, or not, because of the relationship, the sort of the grooming of the associates, I guess?
You know, I feel that those of us that are living the life have a good life, and we would like to share the good life. But I think that it's not affecting us in such a way that we think that it's hard to know. I think the important thing is that the good work is still going on, whether we're doing it or whether somebody else is doing it. So I think as long as we live, as long as we have the energy, we will continue to work with whoever would like to work with us so that the good work keeps going on, you know.
And that good work has got many tentacles. There's environment, there's social justice, there's helping the underprivileged or unprivileged, you know, or things like that. The mission itself is quite broad.
Right, which keeps going on. And yet we've never done it all. We do as much of a part of it as we can, and we continue to promote it. But it's not that we can settle everything, or that we can take care of all needs. I mean, we are very fortunate that we have had people that like what we're doing, and they have been willing to help us. And so right now, for example, I am working in what we call our literacy program. And this program was started in our congregation by Sister Marie Shainline. Was one of our sisters. And in fact, she and I are in the same crowd. And she's really the one that started the literacy program in Detroit, and it was started at Dominican High, which was a school that we had. And I just went yesterday, or the day before yesterday, to a special ceremony in Detroit where they honored Sister Marie Shainline at a new literacy center. It's not a new one, but it's one that's moved because it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And they have now over 400 people that they're teaching in Detroit, and they honored her, and she's someone that was in my crowd, and I lived with her, and she was just a great lady. In fact, when I left Barry, she was the one that asked me, because she was going to start a literacy center on this campus, and she asked if I would help. And so that was 7 years ago, after I left Barry. And so we have a program now here where the sisters that are living on campus that are able are teaching in the literacy center. It's a one-to-one, and so in many ways, it's like you never know what the future is going to be. So it's like something else might be started by us that we don't know about right now. And the Literacy Center is an example of that, you know, because at one point we were almost all teaching in regular schools or colleges and so on. So this whole literacy program was our effort to reach the people that couldn't afford the schools, weren't capable of going to the schools. And so it's like, and that's only like within the past 5 or 6 years. And so it's hard to know, is everything going to die out? You know, I don't think so. We're going to be coming up with new ideas and continuing to reach out to try to help people in whatever ways that we can, you know. It's true of the nuns, you know, that were in Barry or were at other places. You know, many of them are here on campus. They're typical of people that when they get older, they can't do what they were doing before, but they can do something. And so we're lucky to have, it's like not as if life is a dead thing. Life continues to be exciting and inviting, and you know, I certainly see that of our places like Barry. Barry's not exactly the way it was back, you know, 20 years ago, more than that now, almost 30 years ago when I was there. I'm still proud of it. It's still doing great work. And
is it a better place? Do you think it is?
When you say better, I don't know how we measure better. I think that it's a place that continues to respond to the current needs. It's not going out of style. It's not, it does continue to draw people. It continues to grow. It continues to satisfy many people to have a better life, you know, because they find it a vital living place. And, you know, we are fortunate that it has been continued to be managed. And, you know, who knows, we might not have an Adrian Dominican, you know, running the place. But I think that we will always be connected with it. And, or when I say it's hard to know, will we be connected in the same way?